Welcome back to Indigo Smokes, Tarot, Astrology, Mysticism. This is another astrological interpretation for the moon signs. And this video is going to be about natal moon in Aquarius. I have more notes than I thought I would have. So this video may run a little bit long, but hopefully it resonates and you guys enjoy it, understand it, and you take something from it. Okay, I'm going to do what I normally do, which is explain the moon sign, what it's about, why it's so important. And then I'll go into the general energy of Aquarius and the two signs that rule it. And then I will get into the details of how this energy expresses itself when the moon is in Aquarius, from the time that you're a child to the time that you're an adult, your relationship with your mother, all of that great stuff. So, first, the moon sign, I like to think of the moon sign as like your soul, okay? Because the moon in a chart represents your mother. It represents the energy that you came into this life with. It represents the energy that you're most comfortable with, how you express yourself as a child, your dynamic with your mother or your caretaker as a child. It refers to your instincts, your unconscious, your subconscious. Once again, past life kind of energy. You need your lunar or your moon signs needs met, or you most likely will not be happy or fulfilled in any aspect of life, because your moon is who you are at your core, who you are in private, who people who know you intimately, that's the energy that they see from you, so this energy has to be expressed and it has to be nurtured for your overall well-being and fulfillment as, a human and as an individual. What else? It's how you feel safe. Your moon sign is how you feel safe, how you feel nurtured, taken care of, seen, loved, etc. It rules your cycles as well, like your natural cycles, as just what you do on a routine daily basis. So Aquarius energy is the 11th sign in the zodiac, and Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. So I've already spoken about Saturn, but just briefly, Saturn is an energy that the moon is not really comfortable with. Saturn represents like authority, limitations, restrictions, feeling suppressed, restricted, oppressed. Saturn can be a very cold, gloomy energy to deal with. It's not the warmest, it's not the most comfortable. It can be very strict, very stern, very rules oriented. Saturn rules karma, it rules the government, it rules authority figures, it rules older people. Saturn is an energy that can be very it can have like a very, once again, suppressing or a depressing effect on a person who has a lot of Saturn or Capricorn energy in their chart. So that's Saturn. Now Uranus is, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it's a higher octave of Mercury, I think. Uranus rules technology, the future, futuristic thinking, astrology, the galaxies, aliens, the galaxy. It rules aliens, it rules anything that's foreign, anything that's otherworldly, anything that goes against the social norm. That is Uranus. Uranus is about technology, it's about the future, it's about things being unstable, unpredictable. Your Uranus energy is how you rebel. Uranus is very much the oddball, the eccentric, the crazy genius, the one that's just doing the exact and total opposite of all of the other planets. If I'm not mistaken, I think Uranus, the way that it orbits or the way that it moves is either backwards or in reverse. Somehow, some way, it's the total opposite of how the other planets move. So it's very, even the planet itself operates in a very individual and unique and unpredictable way. And those are the traits that are also associated with Aquarius. So when I'm explaining Aquarius energy to people just in my day-to-day life, because I get a lot of like astrology questions from people around me, and that's how I get a lot of my or that's how I've gotten a lot of my practice in, is through people around me asking me about signs and compatibility and relationships. And Aquarius energy is, I call Aquarius the alien. Like, they are the alien of the zodiac. They are the alien of the collective. They are the outsiders. They are probably the ones that are most removed from human emotion and how normal people would express their emotions. Aquarius energy just thinks and does things totally different. It has a totally different perspective, and Aquarius energy lives in its own world, its own perspective, and it can be very much objective in how it deals with a lot of aspects and facets of life. So when the moon, which is ruled by Cancer, and it's very watery, when it's in Aquarius, it is not familiar with feeling nurtured, and warm and gooey and coddled. Like, that's a very foreign feeling, or even an uncomfortable feeling for someone who has moon in Aquarius or heavy Aquarian energy in their chart. So now that I've done my whole rundown and explained a little bit of the different aspects of the moon in Aquarius and its rulers, I'm going to refer to my notes now because there's a lot, and I'm going to try not to get too redundant or rambly. Okay, so Aquarian energy, moon in Aquarius energy, is known for being, emotionally detached. And like I said, I do feel like Aquarius is probably the most distant from, feeling and expressing emotions in the way that the other signs do. A lot of times Aquarius can be very emotionally constipated on like a one-on-one personal intimate level. Like, that's just not something that they're comfortable doing. Moon in Aquarius energy has a tendency to think a lot, very much an overthinker, an analyzer. It'll think and analyze about its emotions rather than feeling them in its body and processing them in the way that emotions often need to be processed. And stronger emotions like jealousy or fear or anger are very uncomfortable and intimidating for lunar Aquarians to deal with. Like, even if they can identify what the emotion is, they don't understand its purpose and they don't want to feel it, and so they can have a tendency to cut themselves off from the more base or intense emotions, because one, it helps them to feel in control, and it helps them to avoid just how uncomfortable it makes them. Like, you could easily say that people who have a lot of Aquarius energy or people who have moon in Aquarius, they have a way of, they take pride in not being emotional. They take pride in being very level-headed, and that can kind of make them very, kind of look down their nose at such petty emotions, So that's one thing. I would say a lot of them appear detached, but there's a lot that goes on underneath the surface of Aquarius. They have a very good poker face. Mind you, Aquarius is an air sign. It is a fixed sign. Fixed signs are stubborn in their own way, and they don't like change unless they're the ones implementing that change. Okay, so I've also realized that lunar Aquarius people, they can be very observant, very intelligent. Once again, they think differently. They think on a different dimension and wavelength than the average person. They just see things from a totally different perspective naturally. They're very good at being objective. Let me see. But surprisingly, people with a lot of Aquarius energy, lunar Aquarians, they can be quite unpredictable. And they can come off moody because they can blow hot and cold. So it's one of those things where it's like, Aquarius people, moon in Aquarius, they can in some instances come off very friendly, very sociable, but it's like once people get too comfortable or too close, they'll get they can blow cold in that regards, because there's a certain level of distance that they always want to maintain. Once again, that's how they maintain control over the situation, over themselves, and that's how they keep their emotions under the wraps. Let me see. I would say moon in Aquarius, they can be people watchers. Once again, Aquarius energy can be very observant. It there's a certain level of fascination with human nature and just how people operate and why people do what they do. And once again, it ties into how Moon in Aquarius dominant people, they kind of can view things from a bird's eye point of view, or like they're on the outside looking in. Let me see what else. There are a lot of people with a lot of Aquarius energy, people who have Moon in Aquarius, they can be loners. Okay, so once again, they can be personable, they can be sociable and all of that, but they're lone wolves a lot of the times, and a lot of the times that is by choice. In some instances, maybe it can be they're just too different and it repels people. Aquarian energy, dominant Aquarian energy can do that. It can make people feel like uncomfortable or unsure of how to deal with the person or approach them. But in a lot of times, Aquarius people, Moon in Aquarius, they can be very charming, very sociable, very personable, very friendly, but from a distance, so they're the kind of people where everybody may think that the Aquarius or the Moon in Aquarius individual is their friend, but in actuality they're not. They're just cool with everybody. So that can be a thing where people think that they're more important or closer to a Moon in Aquarius or an Aquarius dominant individual than they actually are, because Aquarius can just naturally be very friendly to everybody. They treat everybody equal. So everybody, until everybody realizes that's just how Aquarius is. Sometimes that friendly nature can make someone or people feel special, and then they just realize, yeah, Aquarius is just the equalizer, So there's that. Aquarius dominant individuals, Moon in Aquarius, they can be very futuristic, very trend setting. Once again, they're ahead of the curve. I would say the Moon in Aquarius, they can be very claircognizant, clairvoyant. Mind you, the motto associated with Aquarius is I know. So they do have ways of knowing, as far as like being genius, thinking ahead of their time, being ahead of their time with their thoughts, with their lifestyle, with their actions. And they can be very visionary, like seeing things like years, decades even ahead of their time. And that can also be why they feel so out of place in this modern day world that we're currently in, because they're mentally, they could be like 10, 15, 20 years ahead. So that can be something that makes it difficult for them to relate to other people, because the view of life and the view and how they deal with things is just so different and unheard of to a lot of people. They're very good at seeing things from a bird's eye point of view, and I do think that they get like glimpses of the future. Like they're just tuned in a lot of the times to a different dimension, a different wavelength that the average person isn't connected to. Very rebellious. Okay, it's not a good idea to implement a lot of rules on people who have a lot of Aquarius energy, especially Moon in Aquarius, because once again, this is you at your core. This is what you need in order to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel taken care of and seen, and to feel like you. So when you try to restrict, Moon in Aquarius, it's not really going to work. They're going to run away, they're going to withdraw, or they're going to actively, intentionally rebel against you, fight you tooth and nail. They can be rebels without a cause, they can be rebels with a cause, but a lot of the times they are rebellious in their own way, whether they do it loudly or whether they do it quietly. They can be very, very rebellious. That is a part of the Aquarian energy. Aquarius is the rebel. It is the, I hope I'm saying this right, the iconoclast or the iconolast. It's something. I know how it's spelled, but I've never heard anyone actually say it out loud. So I'm just a suspect. I'm just guessing as far as how that word is pronounced. But they're going to do things different from damn near everybody around them most of the time. Fixed sign. So they're very stubborn. Set in their ways, but they can have a very non-judgmental live and let live motto in regards to other people. Once again, they're very egalitarian, very much about equality. They feel like everybody has a right to their own opinion, their own beliefs, their own lifestyles. As long as you're not trying to force anything on Aquarius, they're pretty much accepting of everybody. And Aquarius people are very attracted to and fascinated by other people who are eccentric and different. So they'll gravitate to the underdog. They'll gravitate to the weirdo that other people may give a side eye to. Once again, they can be trendsetters due to that futuristic thing and them being ahead of their time quite often. They have they can be very humanitarian inclined or have a lot of humanitarian qualities. Oftentimes you will see that Moon in Aquarius or Aquarius dominant individuals, they can have more compassion or like empathy for, you know, humanitarian causes, philanthropy, organizations, groups of people, their friends. You know, they're better suited for, you know, showing the emotion that they do show to groups. They're not really good in the one-on-one family romantic relationship type of thing. They're better at you know, being more emotionally attentive or expressive to groups and causes. So that's their thing. A lot of the times, you know, people who are close to them, their friends, their lovers, they may feel like, you know, Aquarius, Moon in Aquarius, they can come off as inconsiderate or insensitive because, you know, maybe they give more attention and time to those causes, to those groups, to those organizations, to their friends. Aquarius rules friendship. Aquarius rules the internet, social media, social causes, the collective, and a lot of times that's where their focus and their energy goes, much to the dismay and the feeling of neglect of their, once again, family and their romantic partners. A lot of the times Aquarius people, Moon and Aquarius people, a lot of times they're actually very good friends, very tolerant, very, you know, understanding. They're good people to talk to. They can give good advice, but when it comes to emotional reactions and intense emotions, they're probably not going to really know how to handle that, because most of the time they can't even handle that and fully process that within themselves. And they definitely, even if they do process it within themselves, they're not going to really express it. That's where it becomes uncomfortable for them. A lot of times they're going to process their emotions in private, especially the more intense ones, ugly ones, base ones, if they acknowledge them at all. Some Moon and Aquarius can be in denial that they even have the ability to sometimes be jealous or possessive in the rare times that they feel that way. Growing up, Moon and Aquarius individuals, they can feel misunderstood, they can feel alienated, but a lot of the times Moon and Aquarius individuals, they take pride in how different they are. They take pride in being an individual. They take pride in not blending in, but sometimes, depending on the chart, Moon and Aquarius can feel misunderstood and feel like nobody gets them, and they can feel like an outcast, and they can maybe feel some type of way about that. But I would say more often than not, they do take pride in being different, and they may even take the extra step or the extra 10 miles to make sure that they are always doing something different than everyone else. That's how important their individuality and their uniqueness is to them. They can definitely turn the notch up on what makes them different. I already said their emotional fulfillment is most likely going to come from like activist pursuits, philanthropy, you know, just organizations, causes, things that they really, really believe in, things that are associated with their ideals and their philosophies and their dreams and their goals, because Aquarius rules dreams and aspirations and social causes. So a lot of the times that's what they're going to be inclined to. That's where they're going to get that emotional fulfillment from. Let me see. I think I said all of these. They'll most likely be fascinated with or experimental with, you know, relationships. They like things that are unconventional, including relationships, including lifestyles, including people, including ideas, you know. So they are the ones to experiment with what is normal or acceptable. And they like doing things a lot of the times for shock value. Aquarius energy has no problem shocking others a lot of the time. Mind you, Uranus is the co-ruler. Saturn and Uranus are both rulers of Aquarius, and that Uranus energy can make a Moon in Aquarius very unpredictable, like just moody, but not in like the watery way, just once again in that hot and cold way where it's like, okay, I'll be nice to you, but I need my space still, or I'll be nice to you, but if you start getting too attached to me, then I'm gonna like withdraw and you won't hear from me for who knows how long, because I need to keep that objectivity, that distance, that detachment. They need that there to feel safe and in control. Okay. All right, and next page. Due to its co-ruler of Saturn, and once again, the moon energy is not comfortable with Capricorn, Aquarius, Saturn energy. So due to that Saturn influence on Aquarius, it can make someone with their moon sign in Aquarius deal with like bouts of depression, that most would probably not even know that they are depressed. Because that Saturn energy, once again, it can be very oppressive and make you feel restricted, so I would say Moon and Aquarius people, they deal with depression more often than people around them would think. They just, probably won't say anything about it. Moon and Aquarius in their childhood and adulthood, sometimes they can come off very shy. If not shy, they can just come off very reserved to themselves. Once again, natural loners. That's the impression that a lot of people get from them. They need their freedom, they need their independence, they need their space. It's like a hard limit. If it's going to restrict any of those things, they're going to be like, fuck you, literally. Let me see. I think I already said this, but I'll say it anyway. Moon and Aquarius, they may consider emotions or being overly emotional to be like beneath them. It's petty to them. It's small. It's like, think of Aquarius as like up here above humanity, seeing things from a bird's eye perspective. So for them to come down and just be the average human feeling rage or fear or jealousy is just like, they're like, what is that? Who does that? That they don't resonate with that at all. If an Aquarius feels fear or jealousy or possessiveness or any of the baser emotions that come with the more primitive aspects of being human, even if they feel them and they know what they're feeling, they're most likely not going to express it. So good luck trying to make them jealous. Let me see. Oh, I kind of cut myself off, so let me just read it. May consider emotions or being overly emotional to be beneath them because they like to understand. Mind you, they rule the term I know. They like to understand and they want to be in control. And so they're going to push away anything that forces them to feel something that they don't want to feel. Okay, they're going to keep things very light, very cerebral, very intelligent, very level-headed, and they pride themselves on that. I feel like they always stand out, and like I said, some of them may actively try to do more to stand out, but they naturally stand out. There's always something quirky about them that sets them apart from other people. This goes for Moon and Aquarius and any Aquarius dominant individual. What I'm saying, let me see. Definitely they can run from how they feel. If they feel out of control, or if they're feeling too many different things at once, they're like, nah, fuck that. Like I said, some of them can go out of their way to be different or to enhance what makes them unique, because like I said, they're just rebellious against whatever is normal. They're rebellious against authority because they're just like, who are you to tell me what's right, what's wrong, what I can or cannot do? Aquarius is not really going to accept that in most cases. If they go with any traditions, it's going to be the ones that they want to do. So yeah. Some Moon and Aquarius individuals may actually battle between what they want to do traditionally and what they're going to do that goes against the norm. There could be a battle between them, or they can just be kind of oxymoronic in the sense of they're super traditional in this part of their life, but they're super unpredictable or unconventional in this part. So they can be oxymorons in that way. Once again, they're very idealistic, very progressive, very liberal, and this can come off shocking to other people, because you never know what you're going to get with them. I already said I feel like they have clairvoyant, claircognizant abilities, just because that Uranus energy, you can just get sudden moments of epiphany or sudden moments of understanding or getting glimpses of what could be, so I feel like that energy is very heavy with Moon and Aquarius. Like, they're ahead of their time in how they think and sometimes in how they live and their behavior, but sometimes I do feel like they can tap into the collective and get glimpses or things or see things before they happen. Mind you, Moon and Aquarius, they can be interested in cosmos, they can be interested in astrology, because Uranus Aquarius rules astrology, rules the stars, okay? Anything space, outer space, alien, foreign, cosmic, Aquarius might be interested in that. Moon and Aquarius, they love knowledge, they love learning, they like anything that's different. Anything that can pull them in and fascinate them will be their own version of a love affair. But more of an intellectual love affair, if that makes any sense. Relationships that may work well for Moon and Aquarius, so that they may be interested in or experimental with, could be romantic friendship, friends with benefits, anything that's no strings attached, or having multiple partners, polyamorous. Aquarius rules the LGBT community, so even if they aren't a part of the LGBT community, they most likely believe in the equality and will fight for or be in support of the LGBT plus community. So yeah, experimental in ways, unconventional in ways of expressing themselves, expressing their sexuality, and the relationships that they like to indulge in can be very shocking to other people or against what the social norm is. And you'd have to remember, like, back in time, at one point it was very shocking for people to like the same sex. It was very shocking for, a certain sex to wear the clothes of another person. That's very Aquarius. It's a very Aquarius concept. So people who were, homosexual or trans or cross-dressers or anything like that 50 years ago, that was very Aquarian of them, because it was ahead of their time, so now we're pretty much in like a very Aquarian energy now and moving forward. So those things are going to be more and more praised and acceptable and normal. So Aquarius comes in to create a new normal, and Moon and Aquarius energy will definitely be fascinated with that, or be experimental with that and supportive of that. So Aquarius, Moon and Aquarius, they can be, once again, they can just be very much about their friends, or very much about the people, or about their ideals. Okay, they're not really focused on the trivial, mundane, day-to-day things. They're too consumed with the abstract, the big picture, in their ideals. Okay, what else? Yep, they have a preference for unconventional relationships, because they need a lot of space. They don't need to feel like their space or their freedom or their independence and their individuality is being inhibited in any way. As a matter of fact, traditional relationships or people who may come off clingy can make Moon and Aquarius feel like restricted, suffocated. They don't want to feel tied down. They don't want to feel obligated to anyone, and they don't want to feel like someone is codependent on them, and they definitely don't want to feel codependent on another person outside of a friendship, context. So yeah, they're always gonna do their own thing. They always need freedom to do their own thing, and if you try and restrict that, they're going to withdraw or adamantly rebel against you in an antagonistic way, just to piss you off and show you that they can do whatever the fuck they want to do. Okay, fixed signs will dig in their heels about their values. So yeah, they don't like feeling obligated to people, to like one-on-one things. Wrong way. All right, a darker expression of lunar Aquarius could be oh wait, I already said that. They have a good poker face, and they're gonna run away from baser emotions. Did that. They can be emotionally distant to a fault. They can be blocked. They can come off too detached, very cold and unreachable to a lot of people in their darker expression. They can be very willful, very prideful. Mind you, the polar opposite sign of Aquarius is Leo. Leo rules pride and ego, and the shadow of that can come through Aquarius, because once again, the things that they take pride in feed their ego, and they're going to dig in their heels at anyone or anything that tries to take that away from them. So for example, they have a lot of pride in their individuality and in what they're willing to fight for, and anyone who goes against that, you're probably going to see a feistier side of, or a colder side of Moon and Aquarius. They'll rebel just to piss you off. I've seen that. Need their independence. They can do things for shock value. They like being unpredictable in a lot of instances. They're rebels with the cause and without a cause. Sometimes they may over identify with their causes, their ideals, their aspirations. Once again, to the neglect of people or to the neglect of the mundane and more trivial matters. They may have been the black sheep of their family. Yeah, that definitely could have been a thing. A black sheep amongst their friends, but I don't really see it that way. I see it more so with the family. They can actually, once again, back to that observant, analytical, people watching, observing thing. Aquarius, they can be good at understanding others' behavior and motivations, even if they're confused about their own. They can see things in other people, and they may have a need to self-reflect. If that's not something that they do in their downtime or when they're in isolation. One thing that a moon in Aquarius may need to learn is self-reflection, to see like what they're doing wrong. That can be a blind spot for them sometimes, because once again, it's I know. A lot of moon in Aquarius or Aquarius dominant individuals, they feel like they know everything, they know it all. Sometimes they can feel like they are, or act as though they're like the smartest person in the room, or they can just be so caught up in their own ideas, their own perspective, that other people's opinions can be overlooked or neglected, which is, it can add to that whole them coming off insensitive or inconsiderate when they're not trying to. It's not personal, mind you. They don't really do things from emotion in that way. Like I said, they can be very kind, they can be very concerned for the well-being of like other people, but it's more so on a grand scale. Yeah, a lot of times they're not going to be assholes intentionally. Like, they can come off as assholes, but they're probably not aware of it. Yeah, they can be very hard to read, and I feel like that can create a lot of misunderstandings with people around them, because once again, most likely no one around them thinks like them, unless they have other eccentric friends or other people with a lot of Aquarius energy. Most of the time they're not understood or easy to read, so there can be a lot of misinterpretations of who they are and their character and all of that. So Moon in Aquarius, Aquarius dominant individuals, they do not like to feel stupid, and they do not like to feel regular. That is a pet peeve. So they don't want anything traditional most of the time. They don't want to feel ignorant or stupid, and they don't want to feel dependent. Okay, so all of those things are like hard limits for them. Okay, with their loved ones, with their family, this is a very big thing. The loved ones of an Aquarius dominant person or a moon in Aquarius person, their loved ones, meaning their family, their romantic partners, they can feel like there's a lack of connection, a lack of compassion from the Aquarius individual, because that Aquarius individual is so focused on everything else, and also they're focused on their independence and their freedom and what they want to do. So they can come off very insensitive or inconsiderate or selfish to those that are closer to them, because a lot of the times Moon in Aquarius and Aquarius dominant people, they can appear more personable and friendly to people outside of their home, outside of their inner circle. Once again, groups, friends, causes, that's where a lot of their emotional energy goes. And so the people closer to them can feel neglected in that regards. Yeah, so definitely the loved ones, the family can feel that way about Aquarius. Moon in Aquarius people, they most likely give all the people in their life a lot of space, a lot of freedom, a lot of autonomy to just do them, because once again, that Aquarian energy does not want to feel dependent or dominated or suffocated, and so it's going to keep you at a healthy distance and check in when it checks in. It's all about, once again, equality. So another thing that can pose an issue in the personal dynamics of family and lovers is that they don't feel like they get any special treatment from the Aquarius dominant or a Moon in Aquarius individual, because they treat everybody equal, so no one gets special treatment, and that can bother certain people in their lives, especially if they're more water signs: Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, Libra. Even though Libra isn't a water sign, it's an air sign. It's about partnership and one-on-one. So people who have those dominant energies in their personality, they can feel some type of way about Aquarius, because it's like, well, what makes me different from a stranger on the street when you're friendly to everybody? Like, what sets me apart? What treatment do I get that they don't get? And a lot of the times you're not going to get that unless there's other stuff in their chart or their environment taught them that. You're going to be pressed for luck to expect a certain level of gushy or sweet special treatment from Moon and Aquarius dominant individuals. It's just very hard to come by without those other factors being there. But that doesn't mean that they're not trustworthy. That doesn't mean that they're not loyal. It just means that they approach trustworthiness and loyalty and relationships in a different way. And it takes a different person to be able to accept that and know that and not take that personal. Because most of the times what a Moon in Aquarius is doing is not personal at all. It's actually the exact opposite. It's quite logical, or cerebral of them. When an Aquarius is offended, which is normally if someone tries to, shun how different they are, shun their cause, their ideals, that's normally what their pride and their ego is attached to. So if you try and insult those things for Moon in Aquarius, they can once again become very cool, very withdrawn, and very rigid. So don't threaten their do not threaten their autonomy, their independence, their freedom to speak and think and do as the fuck they please. The more you resist that, the more they're going to rebel against it. So don't give them anything to rebel against, because they will in a lot of cases. And when I say rigid, I mean their stance in whatever it is, and also their demeanor. The Moon in Aquarius person can go and withdraw so much within themselves that it's like pulling teeth to get anything out of them that they don't want to give you. And if you're wanting to get a Moon in Aquarius person to understand where you're coming from, you're going to have to do it in an intelligent way and not an emotional way. Because once you get into the whole over emotional thing, they're just going to be like, they're going to like zone out. They don't understand that you have to approach them with a level head and intelligence. You have to mentally stimulate them and appeal to them to get them to maybe understand where you're coming from if they don't already. If you charge ahead with emotions, they're going to shut you out, zone out, tune out, or maybe even like walk away or ghost you. You really have to appeal to their mind in that regards. They can fluctuate, once again, that moodiness, they can fluctuate between being sociable and just being very reserved and needing space and time to themselves. They can go MIA for long periods of time, and there's not really anything anyone can do about it. So once again, do not take it personal. They just need a lot of space and freedom for their own mental health, okay? More often than people would think, Aquarius dominant individuals, Moon and Aquarius individuals, they can be very sensitive to criticism, okay? Yeah, either they're going to withdraw or they're going to rebel against whatever it is you're criticizing and do more of it. A lot of the times, Moon and Aquarius, they fully expect to be accepted just as they are. Yeah, that's like they're not changing for anyone. So they are very interesting, they're very charming, they're very intelligent. Think of, as far as like Aquarian energy, think of like Grace Jones, or what's his name from the Beatles, John. Okay, actually wait, what's his name, because I'm sure he's on here. Celebrities who have this. John Lennon, him. That energy, just like totally opposite. What else? My God, these are a lot of notes. Okay, yeah, they're emotional free agents, but they're compassionate towards the collective. That's where their emotional energy goes, and all of that. They can be quite innovative. They can have really great ideas. Once again, very visionary. They can be inspirational to people, or very helpful, in their own way. So the way that they would help probably wouldn't be the way a Virgo would help as far as like serving, but they're going to be helpful in regards to creating equal rights, giving the collective, the people, what they need, rebelling politically, being an activist, that kind of thing. Let me see, they love knowledge, they love technology, they love gadgets, they love their friends a lot of the times if they have allowed themselves to have a bigger circle. A lot of times people with a lot of, Aquarius energy, they can be actually quite popular. Like I said, they can come off like everybody's friend when they want to. Let me emphasize, when they want to. They're very eccentric, they're very cerebral. It's hard for them to get out of that, and they have a very, live and let live mentality. A lot of the times they have very strong character, strong integrity, once again because they're very attached to their ideals, their philosophies, and all of that. And once again, back to how many ideals and how big their philosophies and ideas are, they can be so focused on that they're not really grounded in the mundane aspects of life, like challenges and tasks and chores and the little details that would add to and make their vision possible. They're not really domestic people a lot of the times. They can use their aloofness and isolation to, hide their insecurities or hide their discomfort or hide their sensitivity. And they most likely will root for the outsider, the underdog, and probably because they see a little bit of themselves in that, or they identify with that underdog, outsider archetype. If they do seek partnership, it'll probably be later on in life. But this Moon and Aquarius energy, a lot of times these people don't have a problem being single. They don't have a problem being a bachelor, bachelorette. They get the emotional the human connection that they need from, once again, their friends. Non-committal relationships, unconventional relationships. They don't need love in the way that most people would need love, as far as like settling down and get a husband or wife, kids, dogs. They may not ever need that experience in this lifetime. It just depends, once again, on the other things in their chart, but they can definitely be the type to remain a bachelor or bachelorette for most, if not all, of their lives, and just have, once again, a romantic friendship, hella friends, all of that. They seek out once again, they're experimental. They want to try anything new, anything different, anything that, other people aren't interested in, that's going to draw them. So if it's exciting, if it's edgy, provocative, they're here for it. They'll probably experiment with it, try it. Whoever they end up with, if they end up with someone in a regular type of relationship or even in an unconventional dynamic, they need their person to be intelligent. They need that person to be their best friend. They need that person to understand them, be accepting of them, not limit them. They may need eccentric people around them, their tribe. And free love, one love, that is such an Aquarian concept. It goes back to that live and let live model that they have. Even if or when Aquarius, Moon and Aquarius is expressing their feelings, they'll likely still say I think. So even when they are expressing their feelings, they're going to say I think first, or something along those lines. They're most likely not going to say I feel this way unless, once again, other things in their chart, their environment taught them that, or, life has happened to them and they've evolved into that. But a lot of the times this energy is not going to say I feel this way. It's going to be like, well, this is what I think. They can be the voice of reason, once again, because they can view things from an objective, detached standpoint where emotion isn't clouding their judgment. And once again, they pride themselves in that. Okay. They can, intentionally and unintentionally make other people uncomfortable with how liberal or progressive or eccentric they are, in general. Let me see. Oh my gosh, this is the longest video. Moon and Aquarius, most likely they want to be admired or appreciated for their individuality and their intelligence, men and women. They don't really do good with like superficial topics. Like they don't care enough about them, to be honest. I think I already said that. Yeah, they're very unfamiliar with the whole feeling or being controlled, being tied down, being obligated to people, or feeling like people are too attached to them, or anything that's codependent. They don't understand that. They don't want that. That's going to be the quickest thing to make them run away. Even in relationships, let's say they decide to settle down in a traditional relationship, they are not the most romantic, so you're not going to get anything mushy or gushy from them, and they may not be good at the little things that make relationships sweet, or couple goals, or anything that would make you feel special. Like that may not be a lot of for a lot of them, that may not be their thing. So if you're looking for someone to coddle you like a Cancer, to be in tune with you like a Scorpio, to cater to you like a Virgo or a Libra, you're probably not going to get that with a Moon in Aquarius or an Aquarius dominant individual. They may even like long distance relationship as a part of their unconventional dynamics, and being experimental in that way. They can be very sexually experimental as well. Moon in Aquarius dominant energy is very homie, lover, friend type. It's close but not that close, that kind of thing. The keywords I would say for this is equality, friendship, freedom, and shock. Those are the keywords I would associate with Aquarius, Moon in Aquarius energy. If they ever come into someone, that person has to be, once again, their best friend. They have to be different. They have to be intelligent. They have to be mentally stimulate them in some way. You can't just be a pretty or a handsome face with this energy. It's not going to work. You're not going to engage them, and they'll probably just disengage with you. They like to feel connected yet distant, and they are masters of being connected yet distant. Hence why Aqua is the ruler of the internet, social media groups. With the internet, you feel like everybody is your friend, and yet you don't know any of these fucking people in real life. That kind of thing. Once again, they can be very proud. They can be very egotistical, forgetful, with that Leo shadow that can come out as its polar sign. Moon and Aquarius, they live in their own world. They exist on their own dimension, on their own little cloud. I do feel like Moon and Aquarius, they have a connection with the cosmos, the galaxy, other dimensions, because they come from some kind of other dimensions. They are the aliens, okay? And I mean that so very literally. They take pride in their individuality and how eccentric they can be. They see life differently. I think I already said that Aquarius energy rules the LGBT community, so if they're not a part of it themselves, they're definitely non-judgmental and supportive of it, because once again, they believe in equality and free will. I would say the Moon in Aquarius, they actually are very funny, but they may have a very quirky or dry sense of humor, or an intelligent sense of humor even. I already said they're lone wolves. They have to walk their own path. They have to be themselves, and anything less is just not gonna work. It's hard for them to stay focused on mundane things, dull matters of life. It's hard for them to do anything that's boring and monotonous. They have to be stimulated. And they may be the type that they need to do their own thing, and they need to work for themselves, because they're not gonna, the tradition of a regular 9-to-5 job or just a regular job is not gonna do anything for them mentally, emotionally, any of that. Okay, and now I'm gonna get into the mother. Hopefully I can get this done in 10 minutes. Ooh, maybe. Okay, I think I can. Alright, so now on to their mothers, their relationship with their mother, how they viewed their mother, their dynamic with their mother. That's what this part is. So their mother likely encouraged progressive ideas and lifestyles, free thought, individuality, freedom, intelligence, independence, self-sufficiency, etc. If the mom didn't actively encourage that, their actions created those qualities in Aquarius, or nurtured those qualities in Aquarius. They maybe had an unconventional dynamic with their mother. They could have felt like, or viewed their mother as more of a sister or an aunt or a friend, not the traditional mother type at all. They most likely didn't get a lot of nurturing from the mom in a lot of instances. That Moon in Aquarius, they could have been very mature and self-sufficient at a young age. Once again, that Saturn energy with the moon, it makes you mature before your time, you know, whether it's because you're naturally that way or life happens and forces you to grow up sooner. That can definitely be a thing. Moon and Aquarius energy maybe didn't need the extra coddling that other signs or other kids needed as a child. So there's that. It depends. I think a lot of Moon and Aquarius mothers are very like eccentric and free-spirited and carefree in their own way, or progressive in their own way. But for some, once again, that Saturn influence, if they did in fact have a very traditional or strict or stern mother, they definitely rebelled against that, most likely very early on. But outside of that, you know, pattern that could have existed in the mother-child dynamic, I would say that, you know, the mom probably also had a live and let live mentality, and treated the Moon and Aquarius child as an equal, as an adult, as someone who was self-sufficient and mature and didn't need to be babied, you know. And the mother probably didn't even know how to do those things if it was needed, so the mother could have, you know, been the furthest thing from domestic or maternal. I can definitely see Moon and Aquarius rebelling against any type of authority growing up. And that mother, sister, friend thing, if that wasn't true in childhood, which I do think for a lot of people it will be, that's definitely something that it probably evolved into as they grew up, where the mom seems more like a friend, more like a sister, more like an aunt, and less like a mother. Yeah, the mother once again could have been progressive, ahead of her time, with her outlook and with her approach to parenting and life itself. As a child, the Moon in Aquarius could have been very quiet, reserved, or shy. Once again, loner, most likely. There could have been like a lot of emotional space or even physical space in the relationship between the mother and the Moon in Aquarius child. Like, once again, there wasn't a lot of like emotional dependence, I would say, on each other. And for some, the Moon in Aquarius, maybe the mother was even not there. Once again, so that's untraditional, that's not conventional. Yeah, the mother could have just kept her distance for one reason or another, whether that was emotionally, physically. I do think in a lot of instances the mother treats the child as an equal, because she believes in self-sufficiency and equality. Let me see. If that wasn't the case, then this may have shown a strain on the relationship if she tried to treat you like a regular kid. So if anyone tried to treat you regular or average as a child, you probably like rebelled or just looked at them funny or ignored them or some shit like that. It's just like, okay. The mother could have been very aloof, could have had very provocative ideals, ideas, ways, could have been very outspoken. You can also have these qualities yourself, even as a child. The mother may have worked for a cause, may have worked for an organization, something public, social worker, public speaker, that kind of thing. A lot of people with like a dominant Aquarius energy, Moon in Aquarius, they can maybe be popular or just have a lot of social success, you know, as far as like maybe their career. And once again, that co-ruler Saturn may have made the relationship with the mother very strained or combative or oppressive, with little, if any, emotional affection or connection. Not a lot of maternal love, kind of like the Capricorn moon. And the mother could have been unpredictable, you know, maybe nice one minute, cold the next, there one minute, gone the next, very erratic, very unpredictable. Possibly child may have been more mature than the mom in some instances, seeing how human she was, and in that aspect being more mature than her or not relying on her. It's one of those things where it's like a Moon in Aquarius child can see if their mother doesn't have her shit together, and so they don't even view her or treat her as their mom. They treat her as a person who needs to get their shit together, and they'll do their own thing. That's something that a Moon in Aquarius child could definitely do. And let me see, I already said that. Yep, the mother could have been rebellious, carefree, outspoken, a wild card in some way, shape, or form. Not domestic, not a traditional barefoot and pregnant, here let me give you hugs and kisses. That's probably not the Moon in Aquarius's mother growing up or ever. They could have viewed their mother as strange or erratic. Once again, The mother may have missed the mark when the child actually needed to be treated like a child instead of like an equal or a mini adult. The certain, you know, intuitive, like mother's instinct, mother's intuition, or maternal compass that a lot of mothers have, the Moon in Aquarius mother could have lacked those and could have missed maybe some crucial moments where maybe the Moon in Aquarius child needed to be coddled or needed to be emotionally tuned into. However the mother was, she was most likely very stubborn, set in her ways. She is who she is. She believes what she believes, and that's just what it is. So, the mother most likely did not view the child as an extension of herself, thus giving the child room to be themselves. That can happen in a lot of cases, which is so different because a lot of the times parents, without even realizing it, they consider their children to be extensions of themselves, and they will project their wants and their desires and, you know, their unfulfilled dreams or expectations on the kid, to the neglect of that kid's individuality, whereas it's the exact opposite in a lot of cases with the Moon in Aquarius mother. Unless that Moon in Aquarius mother didn't get to fulfill some things for herself, or there's other things in her chart, she most likely let the kid be their own individual with their own mind. Mother could have been very interested in or more invested in philanthropy, her friends, her beliefs, her ideals, her causes, groups, organizations, etc. Aqua Moon has to learn to balance their detachment instinct and defense mechanism with identifying their feelings, feeling their feelings like in their body, in their heart, and getting into their body, more grounded into their body and out of their heads, you know. So there may need to be some connecting with earth, connecting with water, connecting with emotions, so that they can, you know, fully experience the human experience instead of just observing and thinking and analyzing everything. And also, Moon and Aquarians, they have to learn to allow their emotions to guide them instead of triggering them as a red flag of panicking or triggering them to panic. They have to master like one-on-one dynamics with people and relationships, because that's the thing that's the most uncomfortable or difficult for them to do in a lot of instances. And once again, their mother could have seemed unreachable, whether that was physically, emotionally, literally, you know, all of that. So let me see the cards that are associated with the tarot cards that are associated with Aquarius energy is the King of Swords. So for me as a reader, this is Aquarius energy at its finest. Whether I'm saying in the reading that the King of Swords is the person is describing, even if I'm not saying that person is an Aquarius, they have Aquarian energy traits. Okay, so the King of Swords is an Aquarius card. The Seven of Swords is actually the Moon in Aquarius card, which can be very dark in its natural expression. But on the flip side, the Seven of Swords energy is just like very, once again, it's aloof, it's to itself, and it's the lone wolf. So that's that. And the major arcana card associated with Aquarius is the Star, you know. So once again, talking about dreams, wishes, fulfillment, you know, giving water, knowledge, gifts to the collective. A lot of times in the Star cards, you're going to see a woman naked pouring water over, you know, a big space, because Aquarius is the water bearer in the sense of giving knowledge, giving help, being removed from humanity in a certain sense in order to give humanity what it needs to move forward to progress humanity. So that is the energy. Okay, I hope that this resonated. I hope that it makes sense. I hope that you guys had the patience to watch this. I think this is the longest moon interpretation video, so I hope that made sense for you guys. And just to end it, a few celebrities that have Moon in Aquarius. We have Marilyn Monroe, Uma Thurman, Princess Diana, Sophia Loren, Britney Spears, Debbie Reynolds, Diane Carroll, which I was surprised to know, Jessica Alba, Woody Allen, Russell Crowe, Lil Wayne, Muhammad Ali, Denzel Washington, that one surprised me, Ashton Kutcher, and Bruce Willis. All of those celebrities have Moon in Aquarius. So Definitely you can look to your counterparts to see how they have evolved. If you resonate with some of what I've said, and if you like how they have, you know, emotionally, mentally, career evolved, you can definitely look to them. But yeah, so I hope that this made sense. Thank you for watching, and I will see you sooner rather than later in my next video. And